It's the Illini Drive here on WPGU 107. We are excited after a week break to finally be back. I'm your host, Jamal Collier, and guys, it's a huge show for you today. We're going to talk to Sean Zach, a reporter from Wisconsin. The Badgers are going to the Final Four. Who saw that one coming? Not me. Definitely not me. I didn't see many things coming in this Martian Badgers bracket. Yeah, we're going to talk about how absolutely awful, how terrible, how just destroyed our brackets are a little later. We're going to talk also opening day of baseball, which is why I am excited. I'm pumped up. I realize I like opening day probably more than my birthday. It is just awesome. A huge baseball fan. I've been watching that terrible team from the north side all day, and the Cardinals are up too right now. So a lot to get to. We're going to talk to Andy Mazer. He's going to join us at 6:20. He's a former announcer for the San Diego Padres, and he was here with the Cubs for a number of years too. As always, you can follow along on the conversation on the Twitter. That is at Illini Drive.
On the Twitter.
The Twitter. We want to hear from you people. We want to hear what you guys are thinking. Don't tweet and drive. You're driving home. Makes you get to somewhere safe, and then go ahead and tweet us. Say what
you can pull off onto the side of the road.
Pull to the side of the road and tweet.
Just put your parking lights on.
There you go.
Or have somebody tweet for you, a designated tweeter.
You're good.
We want to hear from you. That's at Illini Drive, ILLINIDRIVE. I'm excited. How are you doing today,
You're good at
Elliot?
spelling, Jamal. I'm impressed. We should have your whole name without any errors.
Exactly.
We should have an Illini Drive spelling contest.
I don't think
you guys would lose. We would have it on air because we wouldn't want to lose any credibility.
Any viewers?
Yeah, exactly.
Viewership.
Well, spelling bee gets a lot of attention.
It does.
And we're smarter than those nerds.
There's a movie out about it.
Aquila and the Bee.
No, I was going to say bad words,
Oh, that's
but we're close.
And the bee.
They're both
Nice.
about spelling bees.
I think that's the first time
sort of.
anyone's mentioned that movie in years.
Yes, fact. God. Oh, man. A lot to get to. We're going to start off with a little bit of a throwback, but the Illinois basketball team. Remember those guys?
A throwback.
Yeah,
That's throwback Thursday.
Yeah,
Memorable
they're in
Monday.
Throwback
They haven't been here. We haven't talked about those guys in a while. But the last time we left you, the Illinois basketball team was getting ready for the NIT. They're out of the NIT now. The NIT they lost in that second round game to
Clemson.
My memories escaped me, guys. If it didn't happen yesterday, I don't really know what happened. As far as
It's all
that
right.
goes.
We got you, Jamal. We got you.
They beat Boston. Then lose to Clemson in the second round, and we're kind of looking into the. First of all, we kind of predicted that Illinois. They obviously were hot going in. Some thought they could win it, and especially the number one seed in their bracket. I think it was Robert Morris lost kind of right away too,
And Green Bay lost as well, the 4 seeds.
Exactly. So Illinois looked like they had a little kind of nice path there, and did not get at least even to the Final Four. They lost in the second round. Were you guys surprised that Illinois did not go further in the National Invitational Tournament?
With the season overall, I'm not surprised just how up and down it was. But you know, like you said, they were riding this hot streak, and I thought the team, could string some wins together, and especially, with Robert Morris going out and Green Bay going out, the team didn't look great against, Boston University, and then didn't look great against Clemson. So I guess, it was a fitting end to the season of mediocreness.
It was one of those games that they became a little bit too reliant once again on Ray Rice. He had a big game, the first game against Boston, and this game they just, like Elliot said a couple shows back, when Ray Rice get the ball, it just sometimes be a dead ball, and they just relied too much on him trying to create offense. And it was just one of those games he just couldn't pull them through.
Yeah, I was expecting them to go deeper than this. I think I have no doubt in my mind that John Gross is capable of convincing this team that the NIT matters. It's not a lack of importance that they placed on the game, where it's not that they were like, like Indiana didn't even want to go to the CBI because they're Indiana.
And that's always kind of the trouble with the NIT is that normally, especially those kind of power conference teams that end up in this tournament, is that they normally just missed out of the NCAA.
Right.
So it's, why do we care? What does an NIT championship really mean? Who really cares? And Illinois all week said, hey, we're not worried about being motivated.
Yeah, another thing is they knew they weren't close. They knew that they weren't going to make it.
Right.
They were.
The second they lost, they knew it was going to come.
Yeah. So it is surprising, and I think Gross has a track record of doing better than this in March. But it is what it is. And the last possession of the game against Clemson was just terrible. It's And Tracy Abrams 2 of 14 from the field. That's just not acceptable from your point guard and your leader. So
crazy to think that they got that shot. And if you guys don't remember it, Tracy Abrams basically took a 3-pointer from about 2 or 3 steps probably from beyond the
NBA
arc.
range.
yeah.
It was beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Terrible
I joke, is that one worth 4 points?
Yeah, it was a desperation heave that didn't need to be a desperation
Because they
heave.
only were down 1.
Yeah,
One.
they could have gotten the layup.
Exactly.
It's like Tracy Abrams was afraid to miss an 8-foot floater again.
I mean,
Had nightmares.
he very
about
well
that.
could have been.
But yeah, I mean, like we kind of talked about, even though they said they were so motivated and still focused on the NIT, they didn't play very well at the outset either against Boston. They got down big against Boston, as a matter of fact, and then kind of rallied back. So I was stunned, even though you kind of alluded to it, that, hey, they haven't, just for them to all of a sudden pull off 4 or 5 or whatever victories in a row just doesn't sound realistic, because they just have not been that consistent for the second half of the year, once competition kind of revved up. So in that respect, yeah. But since they had been playing so much better and against teams that were much better than anything they'll play in the NIT,
That's true.
I kind of expected them to make a little bit of a deeper run. And of course, it's tough for them, because they had to do everything on the road.
Yeah, but they were succeeding
better.
on the road at the
Yeah.
end of the season.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Better road team, honestly.
Exactly.
At least at the end of the season.
Right.
But maybe the travel was obnoxious.
Yeah,
And,
as I've said, I'm sure just a lot of always being on the road. I mean, they
Yeah.
had played those 2 games against Clemson and Boston at home, and then maybe had to go on the road again. Maybe look at a different
yeah,
story.
I mean, they had 4 days between their first game and their second game. They had time to think and realize, does this really matter? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You wonder,
Yeah.
you wonder if it was
Speculating here,
mentally wearing on them, but I mean, that's not something that I want to throw out there as an excuse.
Right. As far as this season goes now, Illinois obviously rebounded from the horrid 8-game losing streak, get to the NIT when it didn't like they make a tournament at all, losing the second round. Success or not a success, just plainly when you look at the result and you kind of take everything into account, how do you feel about this Illinois season?
In my opinion, that's a good question. I would probably
Thank
say, actually, I think, but as far as the freshman wise, I think it's a success more so to them, because, coming into the season, I remember one of our first episodes, we didn't know what to expect. It was just so many new
We
guys.
never know what's
We're not the best
But we
at
had
predicting
it was
things.
a lot of couple surprises, especially guys like Malcolm Hill and Kendrick Nunn. We really didn't a little bit of Kendrick Nunn, but Malcolm Hill, he was kind of like definitely the quiet guy. That's his nature, and he had just a real good freshman campaign, and that's somebody they're gonna rely on pretty heavily, the next year. But I mean, the freshmen, it came a point in time in which they carried the team, and that's something you definitely want to see if you grows going into the next year. So, in my opinion, it's a success to them. But upperclassmen, not really.
Here's my thing. I think it was a success to maybe not the seniors. It's hard to go out in the second round of the
Right.
NIT, but the juniors that'll be back, the core, Nana and Tracy and Ravante. It's a success for them. They get more experience. Ravante gets to play in the Big Ten for a year. And even though they don't have the success that the team would have wanted to, or the fans would have wanted to this year, it's building for next year, like you said, with the freshmen, and now with the transfers coming in with Darius Paul and Ahmad Starks and all these pieces now that are fitting together and have had another year to grow. I think, I think that it's just it's the team is looking up, and I think in that sense it was a success this year.
But it got
What kind of a sense is that, though? You're saying that since we can be optimistic that this year was a success. I think this year was a disappointment.
I mean,
because you have Illinois, who is a basketball team that tries to win and tries to get to the NCAA tournament. They did last year. Yes, they lost some players, but I mean, Brandon Paul for Ravante Rice, you're not losing a whole lot in that trade-off. Like production-wise, you're really not. And so, DJ Richardson, Tyler Griffey, big losses to the core of the team. We have a more scattered group trying to come together under John Gross. But still, you have to hold standards, especially if you're Illinois. Illinois is like the 3rd or 4th best program in the Big Ten historically, behind Indiana, Michigan State, and maybe Ohio State.
Wisconsin, probably.
Yeah. No, not even Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been successful for the past, 15 years or so, 20 years. But Illinois has history, and Illinois has to hold itself to a higher standard than this. This has to be the last time Illinois doesn't make the tournament for several years.
I agree. I
That's a good
completely
point.
agree. And,
You know what?
as far as success and not goes, like you said, that has to be the metric. Not successful season as compared to where they were and what expectations were at the beginning of the year, because this is what I about expected. I didn't think they would really be they might have a chance at the tournament, maybe losing the first round. But this is a quote unquote still rebuilding, a team in transition, at least I think was the word I was using. So, but you put it to it. Now they've got Gross's recruits are coming in, a lot of them.
Right.
The team is basically mostly his recruits now, and that's it. I mean, if you want to be a power team in the Big Ten, they're not going to the NIT in Michigan State or Ohio State. And they were there, I think it was 7 years ago or so. But that's just
They're declining invitations in
exactly,
Indiana.
exactly. Like that's just not. It's not shouldn't be the norm. And if Illinois really wants to be a power team and a dominant team,
Which they should be. They should
Exactly.
aspire to that.
then like you said, should be the last time that they get there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too. Just thinking about last year, you go to a team that almost made it to the Sweet 16, and then you have this year in which they pretty much NIT bound. So I could agree with what you're saying to that aspect that they had higher expectations, and then they went from last year to this year, and it was just a complete fall off. So that's kind of something hard to really rebound off. That's what I was talking about. It was more of a disappointment for the upperclassmen because they seen that experience last year. Then this year, it's like, whoa, what happened?
I mean, it's good for the underclassmen individually, but they're still part of a team. Like you can't look at it like that. These aren't recruits out there playing. This is the Illinois basketball team. They have to win games. And if your underclassmen are playing great, that doesn't really matter if you're still losing.
Yeah.
And they did put some wins together at the end, and that is good. It certainly ended on a less sour note than it appeared it was going to. But still, you can't be proud of this season if you're John Gross. I mean, you can be proud of your kids, what have you, whatever. But this season isn't one that you're going to look back and say, man, that year that was a success.
Really quickly here before we go to commercial break, something you're looking forward to for next year for Illinois. Well, the biggest thing maybe you're looking forward to.
The biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, the emergence of the freshmen and then the transfers and just how they fit into the system. Because I think that the three transfers and the freshmen will continue to grow, and it'll just be a better team for it, and potentially they make the NCAA tournament.
Going off the transfers, one of them I'm looking forward to is Brandon Paul's brother, Darius Paul, 6'8", this long wingspan. That's somebody who could definitely help Nana on the rebounds because obviously they didn't have a lot of rebounds this year. You have guys like Iki and Ray Rice sometimes leading the category in rebounds, and that was something kind of they relied on Egu to do. So that'd be another good help, another big body out there to help the team.
I'm looking forward to some senior leadership as opposed to a senior second unit. We'll have Egwu, Rice, and Abrams, all seniors. That'll be good.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. It's kind of a good point. We're going to take a commercial break here and get to Andy Mazer to talk a little bit about baseball and opening day. But first, are you contemplating running something in the Illinois Marathon at the end of April? And if you want to see yourself in that massive jumbotron finishing like a boss, you can roll over to the Illini Union this Friday for our remote. That's WPGU's remote, hosted by Einstein Brothers Bagels. And that's from 9:30 to 11:30. I'm guessing that's a.m. And you can get $15 off your entry fee. Now, I would not recommend something that I didn't love. Einstein Bagels is fantastic, and you get to sign up for the marathon, get to listen to WPGU, get over there. That's 9:30 to 11:30. You get $15 off your entry fee, people. $15 off. You can use that to get in some guys' bagels and smoothies. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we get back, Andy Mazer's here to talk to us about baseball.
Oh, boy.
Hey guys, this is Erin Andrews, and you're listening to WPGU 107.1.
Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. Opening day, one of my favorite days of the year. We talk about some of the best sporting days on the calendar, and we just kind of had a couple of them in March. Talk about the March Madness, the first couple rounds. The games are on all day. Love that day. Absolutely love opening day. Love just getting to watch baseball and forget about everything all day. So I'm excited to get to talk about baseball. Even though Chicago baseball is not the most exciting at the moment.
Not particularly.
No, not at all. But we've got our good friend Andy Mazer is going to be joining us here on the phone lines. He's been a radio announcer with the Chicago Cubs. He was there for, I believe, about 8 years, and he was also an announcer with the San Diego Padres. Andy, are you on the line?
I am on the line, Jamal. How are you?
Andy, I'm doing great. I feel like I'm almost talking you up a little bit here, so I should probably tell people you're like a nose picker or something, too, to kind of knock you down.
Well, why'd you have to do that? Why'd you have to ruin the mojo there?
I can't oversell you here.
Oh,
Man,
please.
It's good to hear for you. Do you enjoy opening day as much as me? I absolutely love it.
Yeah, actually, I do. It was kind of weird this year not to be a part of it for the first time as a broadcaster for a while. But at the same time, I think this is one of the best times of the year if you want to be a sports fan. Not only do you have opening day, but of course you have the March Madness you guys were just talking about. You've got the Masters coming up. You've got NHL playoffs starting up as well. So I think it's a great time of year to be a sports fan.
Exactly. It's going to be room enough for me to call in sick tomorrow. I'm just going to kind of sit on my couch and just watch.
More days off.
Should be a national holiday, baseball opening day.
Exactly.
It should be. I mean, and I think even Ozzie Smith was trying to champion that cause there. I think it was a paid type of thing, but he's not too far off.
He was. He tried real hard. I saw that too, and I was all for it. All for having a paid day off from.
Well, now, do you want
work.
your day off to be today, or do you want it to be at 4 a.m. so you can stay up and watch the Dodgers and the D-backs in Australia?
I mean,
I'm
not a real big fan of watching the Dodgers and D-backs in Australia, but
You have last night with the Padres and Dodgers as well, so you got plenty of options to choose from.
that's true.
When your
Maybe just give me the week. Just give me the week.
The week off?
I'll just watch opening day and then
Yeah. Well, Andy, we want to talk a little bit about the Chicago teams, which, isn't the brightest subject at sometimes here. As far as the Cubs go, obviously they're still not there yet, and it's still a rebuilding process that I think people maybe didn't know what they were signing up for when everybody said, okay, we're fine rebuilding, because this team looks like they're still on pace to lose about 90 games, at least.
Yeah, that's probably the case. But as long as I've been following the Cubs, whether it be professionally or as a fan growing up, they've never really decided to pick a direction. They've never really gone in one direction or other. They've never said, okay, we're going to load up with a bunch of high-priced free agents, which when I say a bunch, I mean more than two, and and really go for it. And they've never really broken it down like this and decided, we're going to have to draft better, we're going to have to develop better, we're going to have to try to keep our own players.
Yep.
And go from there. So they've never really decided to pick a direction. I kind of applaud them for doing it this way because, now you've had some high draft picks because of the fact that you lost a lot of games the year before. But now there's some things to look forward to. I mean, Javier Baez is one guy to look forward to. Chris Bryant, who's just a monster. I got to see a lot of him in San Diego as well as he was playing for the University of San Diego. I mean, these are prospects that don't come along every year. I mean, these are the guys you have to kind of pick out of the basket there and hope that they can turn things around for an organization that certainly needs a little turning around right now, but you certainly got things swinging in the upward direction. I mean, they lost a tough one there today, in extra innings on a walk-off home run in the 10th, but it's a situation where you have to build a pitching staff, and now you've got some young prospects you can actually either bring up or trade.
Yeah. And the thing with the Cubs always has been, they'll have maybe a year where all of a sudden they win 90 games and get in the playoffs. And then after that, they kind of topped out and never really had anything that they could sustain. And I'm okay with the losing now because, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go out and spend on a guy. So maybe you win 75 games instead of 68 and you just get a worse draft pick.
Well, that's true. And, I think the thing that Dave Epstein and Jed Hoyer were talking about was sustained success. And you pointed out they won the division in '89, didn't get back to the playoffs till '98, didn't get back to the playoffs after that till 2003. Went back to back in '07 and '08, but that's the last time that you've seen a Cubs team in the playoffs. So, do you want to be a team that wins every 4 or 5 years, and then you have to go through 3 or 4 90-loss seasons, or do you want to get it all out of the way now and then maybe be able to win 90 games for 4 straight years?
Exactly. Tell us about Rick Renteria. Obviously, you knew him in San Diego, and at first people didn't know what to expect, I guess, with him when he got hired here in Chicago, because he's not the largest name, I guess, but should fans be excited about him? What do you expect?
Well, yeah, I think too from being around him a little bit in San Diego last year that this is a guy that knows baseball. I mean, he really knows the game. He knows how to motivate players. He learned from some of the better managers as he was coming up the ranks. He was a manager in the single A affiliate for the Padres for a couple of years, and then was the bench coach the last 2 years. So this is a guy that definitely does understand what it takes to be a big league manager, even though he's never had the real opportunity until this year. You know, I think also one of the things that he had going for him, especially with a lot of the young Latin talent that's coming up through the ranks with the Cubs, a guy that can communicate with them in their native language. And obviously, as Rick has said in the papers and on the interviews so far, that he speaks Starlin Castro in Spanish and also in English to try to get him to be more comfortable with his English.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's nice for a younger player like Castro and Junior Lake and now Baez, who came through spring training, to be able to talk to a manager in their native tongue and still be able to go ahead and be able to understand some English as well, but then feel comfortable.
Yeah, my only hope with him is that they aren't essentially just renting him and maybe 2 or 3 years for him to kind of help develop and then look for the next guy. They really kind of give him a shot once they have the team that they think can compete.
It would be nice. I mean, I think that obviously Rick, this is his dream job. This is one of the jobs that is coveted by a lot of people. So I mean, it's not this kind of thing where you come in expecting that kind of a situation, but you obviously try to do as best you can here. And I think what you can show not only with it doesn't measure in only wins and losses. I think it measures in development. And are these guys getting better as players? I mean, have they turned a corner? Are they able to look back and say, okay, I am better in certain aspects than I was when Rick Renteria got here? So I think that certainly will help his case. It's not just a measure of wins and losses to me.
Yeah, exactly. Switching gears a bit here to the South Side, and of course, I know you haven't spent time around the Sox maybe professionally, but I do keep up with them, and they've obviously made a bunch of acquisitions their own right to try to improve that terrible season they had last year. How much improved can the White Sox be, and kind of how should we have expectations for them?
Well, you kind of look back to when they won the World Series in 2005, and it was a good leadoff hitter in Scott Pasednik, and it was a lot of pitching. And you know what? They've got a lot of pitching again, and they just acquired a pretty decent leadoff guy in Adam Eaton from the Arizona Diamondbacks, who is a guy that can wreak havoc. He's got a tremendous arm in center field. We saw him throw out a guy from the warning track at Petco Park in a game when he was with the Diamondbacks. Throw a guy at first base on a double up from the warning track.
That's
left
a far,
center.
yeah, that's not close either.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, they've kind of had the same situations that the Cubs have. I mean, they've got they got Konerko and Dunn as far as the veteran guys are concerned, and that's a lot of young guys. They start with Beckham on the disabled list. Ramirez is a tremendous shortstop, and they'll try to plug some things in there and try to figure out exactly what they do best. I mean, they won today. They had Chris Sale going to the mound, and I would feel pretty comfortable if I was Robin Ventura giving that kid the ball every fifth day.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about losing streaks really with that guy because
that's true.
He's just going to stop you. The West, they got a lot of questions in their bullpen still that I'm kind of not too sure how that's going to work out with the Sox, but I mean, I feel like they can be much improved and probably improve their wins by maybe 15 games or so, but that still means they're going to lose probably, maybe get 78 wins or so.
They're in a tough division, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a division that's really improved. I mean, you look at Detroit toward the top, and the fashionable pick in the Central now to give at least Detroit a little run for their money is Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are some teams that have really improved in that division, which is going to make it very, very tough for the Sox to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts about instant replay. Were you one of the guys who were always hawking to get replay into the game? And now that they've had, do you like the way they've introduced it?
This system that they've kind of perfected, I think, or not perfected, but at least implemented for this year, I think is much better than it was before. These guys don't have to leave the field of play. They're not the ones, Angel Hernandez, that can screw it up even by looking at it in plain day.
Because Angel will screw it up if he gets a chance.
Exactly. Give him a chance, and he'll certainly do it for you. But, there was one today. Actually, Rick Renteria had the very first one. Jeff Samardzija was thrown out at first base. It looked very, very close. They kind of had their video guy really looking at it very strongly, and then they decided to go ahead and challenge it. The ruling was upheld, but it seemed to me like it took less than a minute to get that call on the field.
Yeah, it did.
And it was quick. And the ultimate goal is to get it right. I mean, if the umpires are a little upset about this, or I guess I can't blame them. I mean, there's a human element, obviously, to this game, but I mean, you look back over the years at some of the calls that easily could have been reversed and made right that were called incorrectly on the field. I mean, it's the difference between one team winning the World Series and not. And if you go back to 1985,
yeah, and a no hitter, and not you go back to get the guy from Detroit here.
Perfect game, yeah, with Armando Galarraga.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm in favor of if you can get it right and we have the technology, just do it. I mean, and somebody also tweeted earlier about the Cubs. Of course, the Cubs would have the first challenge in baseball history, and they lose.
Well, that's the cynic in everybody.
Yeah,
Come on now.
It's early. We got to get it out. And we're going to put you in a spot next year about the World Series. You got some guys, some teams maybe that you're looking at you think are the favorites here. Who are your World Series predictions?
Yeah, this year it seems like it's the same old suspects. I mean, it's the St. Louis Cardinals that have, I think, probably the best team in the National League from top to bottom. I think that you get an argument on the left coast from Dodger fans, but I still think that from top to bottom, I think the Cardinals have the best team in the National League, and it pains me to say as a Cubs fan growing up that that's the case.
Isn't that insane? Because they've replaced almost their entire lineup and still probably have the best. They lost Beltran, they lost their middle infield.
They traded David Freese.
Freese is gone, has been their best postseason player.
And that just kind of tells you the philosophy that they have. I mean, they develop, and this is what the Cubs are striving to do. I mean, This is what they want to do. They want to be able to develop guys like Michael Wacha and Shelby Miller, and be able to bring these guys up and not really blink an eye when Chris Carpenter retires. And you bring up a guy like Matt Carpenter to be able to take over for a guy that was there for a long time and Skip Schumacher. So I mean, it's one of those things that they always feel like they have somebody as good, if not better, in the minors, and that's why they consistently win.
Yeah, I always kind of joke that they just pull guys off the street and they hit 280. Now I think they pull guys off the street and they throw 98 too. So it's just you can't.
It's like the old thing with the Denver Broncos offensive line. You can put me back there and I can get 1,000 yards.
Exactly. American League pick here.
Yeah, I hate to do it, but I mean, you go back and you look at what Boston was able to do last year, and I don't see any real reason other than injury why they might not, make a return. Texas obviously tried to get a little bit better with that big trade that they pulled off and getting Prince Fielder and getting rid of Ian Kinsler. But I think with the ballpark the way that's designed over there to get a left-handed power hitter like Prince Fielder there, especially on those nice warm 100-degree nights at 7:00 in the evening.
That's when it's cool when it's only 100.
Yeah, exactly. That's they should play their games at 9:00. It maybe still be 100 degrees probably there, but. Texas is one of those interesting teams. Obviously Detroit with you never really kind of look past a team that's got Miguel Cabrera. But again, I just like the way that the Red Sox are constructed. I still think they're pretty deep in the pitching staff, and I hate to predict a repeat of last year. That very rarely happens. But
you did it.
If you're asking me on the second day of the baseball season, I'm going to tell you that I think it's probably going to be Boston and St. Louis.
Yeah. Have to see how it all plays out. Well, Andy, you're also a huge Chicago Blackhawks fan, and I am as well. And I'm nervous, Andy. I have to tell you, I am. At first I'm kind of like, this team is going to coast through the season, and when it's time, they can turn it on. And now the time is kind of getting near here, and the button doesn't seem like it's getting turned on here because now Kane is out, Taves is just getting injured as well. Where's your level of concern right now for this Blackhawks team?
I've just been concerned with the fact that they've had so many nagging injuries and some big injuries that have popped up here over the last month. I mean, if you look back to the beginning of the month, that was when they had the snowy the Stadium Series win against the Penguins.
Yeah.
And, ever since then, you've had Bickle out for quite some time. You had Kane out for a while. You had Hossa missing time. You had Todd missing time. Now you've got Jonathan Taves banged up. And, everybody was talking yesterday, about the lack of retaliation on a hit, from Brooks Orpik. It was a second period. You were down by only one goal at that time, and the way that the penalty kill has been this year, it's not been the greatest thing in the world. Do you do that at that point? Part of me says yes. The old school guy in me says, you know what, Jonathan Taves would be there for you.
Right.
Kind of hard to imagine that they didn't try to retaliate and get his back, but at the same time, there was still a lot of time left in that game that you try to come back and win it. Now, obviously, they didn't. And it can be looked at as one of two ways. I mean, either this is going to be a gigantic wake-up call for people to look in the mirror and say, you know what, we have been getting rolled the last couple of weeks here. It's time to step things up. You got a couple of days off here to try to get healthy. And we still don't know the extent of the injury to Jonathan Taylor, as Coach Quinville was saying after the game yesterday that it was not as serious as maybe it had looked. But again, you never know what a day will do in that respect. So, I remember back to 2010, and they had a similar type of streak right around this time of the year. And then the next thing you knew, the last 2 weeks of the season rolled around, and they were rolling. And, you got to hope that this is the kind of thing where they all get healthy. You be real careful with a lot of the guys that are injured at this point, because I think it's much more important to have them for the playoffs than maybe even to get home ice advantage.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get that healthy crew together.
Yeah, and really quick with the Taves thing, too. It's, I don't have any the old school in me, I guess, but I was thinking that they should have retaliated, but that's really not ever been their. They've never really done that. I mean, the one kind of knock, I guess, on them has been that they're kind of a finesse. Word's kind of a bad word, but they're kind of a finesse team. They don't really go out there and do those kind of things. So I didn't think it was as big a problem as everybody else kind of thought, but I would like to see it maybe turn into something that kind of wakes everybody up and says, okay, we got to turn this on and kind of get angry here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case. I mean, I happened to listen to the Blackhawks analyst, Troy Murray, who obviously was captain for the Blackhawks for a while and played at a very high level for a long time, and he was spitting nails, the fact that they didn't come back and get Taves back, and they didn't turn around and do something right away. And, obviously he's an old school guy, and, there's the new breed, and, that word finesse does get thrown around quite a bit. This is supposedly a high-flying offensive attack where you don't have to really worry about those kind of things. You won't have to worry about your toughness. But, lately with Kane out and a lot of experimentation going on in that lineup, they haven't scored many goals either.
No. Andy, we're going to go ahead and get you off the line here. We thank you for joining us, and we'll hope to talk to you soon, buddy.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
All right. Andy Mazer here talking to us about a lot of good things here. We're going to take a commercial break. We've got Sean Zach, a reporter from Wisconsin. He's going to tell us about this Badgers Final Four run. We're going to talk about March Madness and just how absolutely insane it's been, how absolutely awful our bracket is doing. We're going to take a commercial break. This is the Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1.
Hi, I'm Gene Honda, public address announcer for the Chicago Blackhawks and the Big Ten Men's Basketball Tournament. And you're tuned into the Illini Drive at 5.
Guys, Friday of the DJs 4 is brought to you by WPGU, the Clybourne, and Ragstock. And that's Wednesdays in April. It's April 2nd, 9th, and 16th. So mark your calendars. It's at Clybourne's. That's 706 South 6th Street in Champaign. How about these drink deals, Elliot? You got $2 Wells, $2 Bud Light bottles, and $2 vodka Powerades. You got free glow sticks. You can grab your DJ's color and show them some support. Show them some love. Support your guy. Get out there. Join us for a campus favorite. That's WPGU's 4th annual Fratto of the DJs. That's at Clybourne's. Those Wednesdays coming up April 2nd, 9th, and 16th.
Vodka Powerade, eh?
I never heard of that. I was just thinking about that.
You can mix vodka with almost anything.
Is that like what Ron Artest used to drink when he was with the Bulls?
Ron Artest probably drinks some a little more.
I heard that was a bottle of brandy before every game.
Yeah, it's a little more intense. But
That's why he was so angry.
$2 Wells, though. There you go.
$2 Wells, $2 Bud Light, and $2 vodka Powerade. So
Can't beat it.
cannot. Again, get out there, join us, support your DJs, have some fun, get your weekend started early. Now, back to some business here. We got Sean Zach on the line from Wisconsin. I don't know what I was kind of going for there. I got a little tongue-tied, a little excited from Frattle. Wisconsin's in the freaking Final Four, and nobody saw it coming, even though they were number 2 seed. I feel like I say nobody saw it coming, but that does not sound good. Is Sean Zach there? I'm guessing no. No, you don't hear that. Oh, okay, our producer does not have his... cut him off there.
He hung up after what you said.
Yeah. He's good. He's getting ready for Frattle. We're going to go ahead and retry Sean Zach here to get him on the line and talk about the Final Four, but let's see here. He may have a call back here. Darshan Patel, our fine producer, will try to get him back on the line now. Wisconsin, Final Four, I tell you what, didn't have it at all. I had Wisconsin losing the Sweet 16. Did anybody here have Wisconsin in the Final Four?
No.
I grew up a Wisconsin fan, and I didn't have them in the Final Four. I had them going down to Arizona, I think.
In Elite Eight.
Yeah, in the Elite
Or,
Eight.
yeah, Elite Eight. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I believe we have Sean Zach from Wisconsin on the line. Sean, are you there?
I am here.
There
Awesome,
we go.
Sean. We had a nice little dial tone, which, some may say may be as entertaining as you will be, but I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in this obscure Wisconsin journalism school building. I'm in the basement, so that's probably the reason why we lost a little bit of reception there. But I'm doing well.
We've got some obscure Illinois journalism school buildings. Is that just a thing now? That the 10 school have just obscure buildings?
Well, a lot of these journalism schools were probably constructed in the 70s and 80s and not exactly the most ideal construction to them. So I'm not surprised if that's the case across the board.
Who gets into journalism these days anyway, right?
Only the smartest people.
Yeah, exactly. Want to make the most money. Anyway, hey, we were just talking about Wisconsin, and, we all followed our brackets. First of all, how's your bracket doing?
My bracket was looking great until Saturday, and ironically, Wisconsin was a team to ruin it.
Whoa! These guys pick Illinois to lose like every game, and here it goes.
And then pick Illinois to win the Big Ten.
And then
tournament.
later on, I picked Illinois to win every game.
All right, don't embarrass yourself with that. Okay, but Wisconsin ruined your bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty fine with that, actually. It's one of those things.
Oddly enough.
Yeah, this bracket is a crapshoot anyways.
Oh, man.
Anytime you're trying to pick this many games and this many teams with the kind of parity that we see in this sport, it's really impressive. Anybody's getting the Final Four correct these days. And the fact that Wisconsin blew mine up, I was kind of fine with it.
Yeah. Again, Wisconsin was a 2 seed, and, they earlier in the year had a lot of momentum, and everybody was kind of one of the favorites to pick them into the Final Four. And then they really just kind of, that momentum derailed, and they just weren't playing as well through the middle of the season and really toward the end. Are you surprised? Or how do you feel as Wisconsin? Does it ever feel like a Final Four team to you?
No, it's funny. The question I was asked on the earlier radio show today is, when did it feel like this team could be a Final Four team? And ironically for this show, it was when they beat Illinois early January by 25. And Illinois was ranked.
And that's when we thought Illinois is probably not a tournament team.
Yeah.
Same time.
Obviously, things have changed for that program since then, but that's when they knew Wisconsin could, they could do pretty much anything when they played well. But it's been such a slow season, like it is for a lot of Big Ten schools. It comes and goes. I guess I never really thought that they would get to the Final Four until they won that game Saturday night, because the teams they've been up against, and it's been tough to follow this team because you know how good they can be, but you also know that they can lose to Northwestern at home like they did. You never really knew which team was going to show up.
What has the reaction been like on campus as far as has it been insane there? Has it been kind of controlled, or what has it been like?
Today was fun. People on campus, without a doubt, Saturday night was very, very fun. I live a little bit away from the State Street scene, so it took me some time to get over there. But by the time I was there was, I think, reported something like 10,000 kids on State Street just flooding it. And it was actually, it was a great scene. Everyone was jacked up, and Wisconsin hasn't been here in 14 years to the Final Four. So everyone's going crazy about that. And the fact that this season started out so hot and then had this disappointing January and then turned back into what is now a Final Four season, everyone's just going kind of nuts with it. And we're not used to having Wisconsin basketball extend this far. Usually at this point we're cheering for hockey teams, but now it's a basketball team. So everyone's stoked about it.
Is that the reason why you're in the basement right now? To get away from the noise?
Exactly. No, it was a great day on campus. I need to get out of the basement soon now because it was super sunny today. The Brewers won a game. There's a lot of smiles around campus.
Yeah, well, the Cubs did not win, so we're not. But we're used to that by now. Hey, Bo Ryan, how cool was it, I guess, for him to be able to get to this Final Four? This is his first time getting there. And for those that aren't aware of the story, he went with his dad to every Final Four. I think for the last 19 years. I don't know off the top of my head. But he went with his dad to every Final Four. And to his dad's 90th birthday, would have been his 90th birthday. His dad passed away. Just the first time, I'm telling this story very terribly here. But his dad passed away, so was not going to be able to go to the Final Four with him this year. And his dad's 90th birthday was the same day that Wisconsin clinched their spot. Just how awesome and insane of a story that is. Couldn't write it better.
The timing of things sometimes. It's an awesome story. And for a lot of the people over on the team, it's one we kind of heard progress throughout the year. They started writing about Butch Ryan and his death earlier on in November when Wisconsin ended up starting 16-0. So it's nothing that's really surprising to us. But I know as far as a national story, that's what people are going to want to cherish. It's cool. It's good for him. And, you know, when Bo Ryan was cut down the nets and the kind of different things he was doing, wearing a snapback hat, it's different and it was funny. But I've never seen him smile the way he did that at that moment.
Yeah, talking about big storylines here for Wisconsin. What do you think is sort of one of the biggest unsung stories? You know, you said Bo and his dad will be the national spotlight, but what do you, you're kind of there, you're local. What's one of the, the more unsung stories for this team?
Well, the one that everybody's appreciating nationally is Frank Kaminsky, the center who is kind of coming into his own, obviously dominated the game against
Tim
Arizona.
Duncan Jr.
Yeah, I know. That's the most impressive because the guy, he only averaged 4.2 points per game last year and was really an afterthought and was, sometimes his relationship with Ryan wasn't the cleanest one. It was a little dicey at times. The one, as a writer that's covered the team this year that I think is the most important, other than Kaminsky, is the point guard Trayvon Jackson because obviously under the little umbrella that his dad creates with his last name, Trayvon Jackson, he isn't really a point guard. He plays point guard for the Badgers, but he isn't really a point guard. He's more of a two guard, kind of gets his points driving to the hoop and shooting threes. But his play has been so much more consistent in the second half of the year, so much that, people were calling for him to remove from the starting lineup halfway through the year. And now that he's kind of solidified his spot, the whole team really has its purpose now, and everyone plays a role. It's a really fundamentally strong team, and everybody's playing their spot. And it's, Bo might be considered the puzzle maker. He's putting it all together. It's working right now, but like I said earlier, it can come falling apart at any moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have a disparity there. Wisconsin is a program that Bo Ryan has been building over, a decade and a half now. And then the team you'll be facing in the Final Four, Kentucky, with John Calipari, he's got this system. And even though this was, by all means, a down year for Kentucky, they still have the kind of talent that can, just get them to a Final Four on a Final Four run like this. How do you think the two programs are going to match up?
Well, they're obviously completely different, but Bo Ryan tried saying today that they're very, very similar. I mean, both teams are trying to score in the 70s and keep their opponents in the 60s, and they're both doing a very good job of it right now. I think the most, as far as starting viewpoints of the game, I think it's just going to be how the bigs play against each other, because Wisconsin might have better bigs, but I think Kentucky has 3 or 4 guys that they can throw at them when Wisconsin might only have 1 or 2. So I think as far as the depth of the front court is maybe the most important facet of this game. And as far as programs go, the thing I said earlier today on the radio was that I think Wisconsin can actually get really hyped up to play a program like Kentucky, because Wisconsin isn't going to Final Fours 3 out of 4 seasons. Kentucky might be. And this is a chance for Wisconsin to put itself, toe-to-toe against arguably the best program in the history of college basketball, and they can be the ones that win that game and move on. It's definitely a bragging point and a recruiting tool that Wisconsin can use. It'll be interesting. I think when it comes down to the coaching aspect of things, is one thing I can't really get away from. The fact that John Calipari has been in these games and now his third Final Four in 4 seasons. He's won 17 games and only lost 2 in the tournament. And Bo Ryan, outside of this season, didn't have an unblemished schedule in the tournament, or an unblemished career. He's put it all together through these 4 games, but I feel like there's something there in the coaching experience that Calipari might have over Bo Ryan when all the lights of the national basketball world are shining on Arlington come Saturday.
Sean will be rooting for Wisconsin as a fellow Big Ten team. No team from this conference won a championship since Michigan State did in 2000. So, is that right still? Yes, I got to make sure. You can look at me, it's funny.
Research.
But yeah, we're looking forward to end that drought. And Sean, we thank you for joining us here today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, that was Sean, Zach again. We thank both our guests, Sean and Andy, for joining us here. We're going to wrap up here last couple of minutes with our badass of the week. Somebody who's done something great in the world of sports, I guess, recently. You want to go ahead and start us off, Torrance, on that note.
You just talking about Wisconsin, just going back to that. I didn't know about that Bo Ryan story at first. That was amazing. And just, he's just an awesome coach. Just a lot of real good coaches in the Big Ten. You know, Tom Izzo, you have guys like, Gross starting to develop his players to get better. But Bo Ryan, man, he deserved the most out of everybody when you think about it, what all he's been through. They've been in the Final Four since, the year 2000. And this is the year. This is a good time for Wisconsin basketball, and it'll be interesting to see if they do take it home with that momentum.
I guess not at all going off that. I have 2 picks, or actually I guess 3 picks. 2 from the Chicago Cubs, Jeff Samardzija and Emilio Bonifacio. Bonifacio went 4 for 5 in his first appearance on the season, and Samardzija had only gave up 5 hits over 7 scoreless innings, and then the bullpen gave it away. But I'd give it overall to MLB for their opening day and just being able to finally watch regular season baseball again. That's pretty badass to me.
I think you took his.
You could easily go Bo Ryan on this. Obviously, tremendous story there. But one of my favorite parts about March Madness is the seniors who lose. And watching guys.
oh wow!
Go ahead.
Watching guys like Russ Smith and Keith Appling and Adrian Payne, watching those guys' careers come to an end as they fight and they scratch and they claw to keep them going for another 40 minutes. Okay. It's just absolutely inspiring to see the efforts that these guys put up. And I say that who lose, but I'm also talking about the Shabazz Napiers of the world who get it done.
To win, right?
It's
at first when you said that, I thought you like the guys that are crying at the end.
The crying
is badass. Okay. No, but just the fight that you see in those guys throughout the entire tournament. It's basketball is a more individual sport than football is. If you lose a football game, you obviously lose as a team. If you lose a basketball game and you're a senior leader, there's always a feeling that you could have done more, and you really see that on display. And these guys are so exposed to the national spotlight beaming upon them so heavily, and I love it. It's my favorite part of March Madness.
For me, I'm going to give a shout out to Illinois wrestler Jesse Delgado, second time in a row, back to back. National champion at the 125, maybe I'm getting that right, 125 pounder, back-to-back Big Ten champion, NCAA champion. Just a real badass feat that he accomplished over the week off there. So once again, like I said, just a lot of badass things happening.
People can't beat him when it counts, and he knows it.
Yeah,
it's so awesome. He knows exactly the top 2 guys. I know Nico Megaludis is from Penn State, is one of them, and the other is, I think, Nashon Garrett. I might be saying that wrong or remembering it wrong, from Cornell. And he knows both of them very well. He beat Garrett in the semifinal last year, and then Megaludis in the championship. And he beat Megaludis in the Big Ten championship this year, and Garrett in the championship. So he's got those guys under his thumb, and he's awesome. He is totally badass.
Yeah. You gotta say Megaludis' name like a wrestler, like last week.
Nico Megaludis.
That's it. I like that.
We'll have to try to get.
And on that,
have to try to get Jesse Delgado on the show here one of these days too. We want to thank our guests, Sean, Zach, and Eddie Mazurbo, for calling in. Thank the good folks at UPTV. Some of you may be watching this on Wednesday night when they re-aired to come out and shoot and make us look a lot better than we are. That's it for now. We're going to be back at the same time next Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. on WPGU. Again on UPTV Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. And now back to more of Champagne's alternative, WPGU 1071.